What is up, YouTube? N64 Fun Time coming back at you today. I'm getting over just a little bit of cold, so please bear with me today. I got a little bit of the sniffles, but that's not too bad. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but before I get started, please click down below, like and subscribe. It is always appreciated. So we are reviewing The Dragon Prince. It is a Netflix exclusive show. It's kind of an anime cartoon that just came out last Friday, so just about 5 days ago, and it is made by the same people who created Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Those were Nickelodeon shows a handful of years ago, and Avatar: The Last Airbender, one of my favorite cartoons, anime style shows of all time. And when I found out that the creator was doing a new story, I was extremely excited. I feel like this kind of flew under the radar a little bit, unfortunately. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this review as well, so I can kind of get the word out of, hey, everybody needs to start watching this because it is awesome. So, spoiler alert, it's awesome. Anyway, let's get started. So the story itself is fairly stock. If you're super into fantasy, the story may feel a little stock, but as it gets rolling on, they add a lot of very unique elements and personalize this show very quickly. There are only 9 episodes in the first season. Each episode is maybe about 25 minutes-ish to about a half hour long, I think is the longest one. So 9 episodes, you can actually watch it fairly quickly. And like I said, going back to the story, basically, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but kind of what you could get in the trailer. The humans and the elves are fighting. There are a handful of different races of elves, which we haven't met all of them yet in this story, so there's much room for expansion, learning about these other races and stuff. But they're kind of going back and forth in this war, and right away the elves are trying to assassinate the human king. Something goes wrong or changes during this event, and it brings kind of a group of characters together to start off on this epic adventure. So, like I said, the story is a little stock, but there's unique elements that make it kind of its own thing, which is very exciting. So the characters, you have a group of 3 people that kind of start out the show. Kind of in the main group, you have kind of a younger individual who's kind of learns he's like a sorcerer sort of thing. You have this elf who's an assassin, and you have a younger boy who turns out that he does have kind of a special talent that you find out kind of at the end of the show. But the group of characters together are kind of the perfect balance. If you're familiar with the Last Airbender series, there's a lot of comedy. You know, there's the strong character is the elf assassin. The comedic relief character, which is the younger kind of sorcerer, is actually voiced by the person who did the voice for Sokka in Avatar: The Last Airbender, so you're going to recognize him. And then the younger kid who's kind of growing up and is kind of the innocent character who has a cute little pet kind of sidekick in, you know, all of these shows. The animals in this show are very unique and kind of a hybrid mixture, just like they were in Avatar: The Last Airbender. They're very funny. And like I said, each animal is extremely unique. They do a really good job of making you think that this world is a completely new one from any fantasy world that we've been in the past. And the elves are very unique in the fact that they have horns. They have very thick Scottish accents. So the elves themselves, the moon elves that we meet in this season, seem different from any other elf that we've met in any other fantasy series. And like I said, there are other races of elves and other races that we haven't met yet. So I'm really excited that they only introduced a few separate races in this, because there's a lot of room for expansion. And what's cool about a lot of the characters too is their weapon types in this show. They use many different styles of weapons. There's, you know, dual wielding. There's really cool swords and bows, and there's you know, bows that turn into swords. There's a character that has this like punching shield, and what's cool about the different weapon styles is it makes for very cool, unique battles that they have in the show. The fight scenes are very, very epic. they feel very satisfying, and when you have those style things, then it kind of goes back into the comedy stuff, very much like Avatar: The Last Airbender. So the characters are absolutely awesome. They do a really good job of introducing very unique, different characters, and giving them really good personality. You hate the characters you're supposed to hate, you love the characters you're supposed to love, and you love their personality, and each one is individually unique. A few really cool things about the characters as well is there's actually one scene where there's a mute character, and she does sign language, and there's this part of the show where she doesn't have her translator, and she's signing, and it's kind of this beautiful moment where you don't really know what she's saying, but yet you kind of get the gist of what she's saying based off, you know, the scene. And it's a very beautiful moment, and they do like, that just is one small piece of like how well they do with like you loving these characters so much. So yeah, that's kind of the characters without giving you too much. The next thing is the animation style. Now, if you're familiar with kind of this computer generated Netflix style of animation, I know they kind of do it because it's a little bit easier, but you have these backgrounds that are computer animated that are extremely detailed and textured with kind of this like almost shaded lighting style. And then the characters themselves, you can tell that they're definitely in the foreground, are hand-drawn computer style though. They're definitely hand-drawn on the computer. And the characters themselves are less detailed than the background. And this is kind of the same animation style that Netflix has been doing with the Godzilla show, anime style show, Ajin, Knights of Sidonia. All of those shows are pretty much exactly the same style of animation, which it looks beautiful. It definitely makes for these, with the computer generated, you get these really long kind of sweeping shots of the environment, and it makes it feel like this massive world, and you get so much detail in this world, and it's absolutely beautiful. They did a very good job bringing in color. It's not most of it's kind of like in dark environments, but there's so much color in it still, and it's very beautiful. Would I have liked to have been hand-drawn? Absolutely. I feel that looks so much better. But the animation itself is beautiful. They did do a very good job. So highly recommended. I absolutely love this show. They do a very good job at the end of making this feel like it's going to be a very unique story. But let's get into two things I didn't like about this show. And to be completely honest, to be fair to the show, it isn't the Dragon Prince issues. They're really not the show's issues. These are Netflix issues that I didn't like about the show. So one of the things being, there are only 9 episodes. One of the great things about any anime or any cartoon is the fact that back in the day, most of them used to be 24 episodes. Now you can tell a story that in 24 episodes and not having it feel drawn out, but the biggest things with those is they had filler episodes. And filler episodes were extremely important because they told small stories of the characters. You got more of an in-depth look at each character and their personality, and you grew to love them or hate them even more. But with 9 episodes, you don't get much of that filler. You don't get a lot of character development. You get really good stories about the characters, and you kind of get a feeling of who they are, but without that filler, you don't get that super in-depth look at them, which is, like I said, it's a Netflix issue because Netflix has been doing these shorter seasons of these shows. Now potentially there could be up to 6 seasons or 7 seasons depending upon how they work it. They're doing books similar to The Last Airbender did. The first book was the Moon book, and this goes off the elements, and there are 6 elements of magic that they're probably going to do books on, so there could be potentially 6 seasons, potentially 7 if they do dark magic, which is not a spoiler. That's in up right away. They talk about dark magic. So hopefully the next seasons are longer, because they're already starting to introduce new characters other than kind of the main core of characters, but you don't get to learn enough about them. So hopefully the next season will have many more episodes, to have those filler episodes so you can get the story a little bit more. And then the next thing is the animation. So like I was talking about earlier, Netflix has kind of its style of animation. I blame Ruby for this style of animation, but some of the biggest things with the computer animated animation now is the backgrounds and the foregrounds of the characters, it seems, has a different frame rate. The character frame rate is a little bit lower and their details a little bit lower, and I think they do that so it can render easier. But there's a few times where the backgrounds are moving in parallels, and because they're at different frame rates, there was 2 or 3 different times in the show where like my eyes kind of skipped and like almost crossed because the frame rates were different. Unfortunately, I think this animation style is what we're stuck with for the future. I really do, unfortunately. Do I wish they could do hand-drawn stuff? Absolutely, but that takes too much time and money, which this show is worth it. But like I said, I think we're stuck with this animation style. It's not my favorite. Like I said, the characters have a lower frame rate and they kind of like skip. Even in like the battle sequences, which are supposed to be very fast and fluid, you can kind of notice it, and it's not my favorite. And believe me, these are not show issues. It doesn't take away from the show, but it's a Netflix issue. I wish they would spend a little more time with that and make more episodes and have a better animation style. But there you go. There is The Dragon Prince, a review. I absolutely loved it. Please go watch it. If you're unfamiliar with the Avitar, the last Airbender series, go back and watch that too, because that is so phenomenal. It is so worth a watch through. So yeah, I really wanted to do this to get out the word of this show and just bring people's attention to it, because it is that awesome. It is worth your time. It is worth the 9 episodes, a half hour each. It really, really is. I can't recommend this enough. So there you go, A Dragon Prince. Watch it. It's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, N64 fun time. Until next time, be nice, stay positive. Always be gaming.